invest in meetings like this because it has the capacity to turn things around for ourselves. I have been oftentimes frustrated when I see black people in developed countries like this because the reality is that America needs you and I than you actually need them. But unfortunately, the way we go about things, right, is as if, they are doing us a favor. Recently, the US now gives Nigerian 5-year visa instead of the 2 years. I could see Nigerians so excited, but they didn't do it because they love you, right? They're doing it because things are shifting. Ukraine war opened the eyes of America to the fact that they are losing allies. And America is likely to have issues when it comes to agriculture, feeding America into the future. And their own recalculation is that Nigeria now needs to play that role. I don't know whether some of you have visited Nigeria recently. You see African Americans in Nigeria, living in Nigeria, right? It's an intentional move now that there is and that's why it's difficult for Nigeria to join BRICS. A lot of people don't know the politics dimension to it because America is saying to you, you and us, we are going together. But the frustrating thing is that because we are not even aware that the world needs us, right? Where our approach is almost as if, help me, give me visa, I'm leaving my country, and I'm hoping that from today, your mindset will change. And if you are here, you will begin to think ownership. So before I get into my slide, the first thing I want us to know is that there is a contradiction when you move to this part of the world. America is a capitalist society. However, you as an African, you have a socialist mindset. Do we understand what I'm talking about? Right? Socialist is concept around togetherness. We work together as a family, isn't it? If my brother is sick, that's why all your family relatives are disturbing you. Send me $100, send me $200. Iboroti daru, tell Basha Numi, we will die. Mommy is in the hospital now. Send. Right? That's a socialist structure. But in America, it's a capitalist structure where you all man for himself. Bring value to the table if you want to get anything. Is this making sense at all? So when you come into an environment like this with that mindset of socialism, can somebody help me? You cannot become wealthy. Because the structure is that add value and you make money. We don't care what color you carry. You just be somebody who can add value. I often share with people, I said, it's been difficult for me to experience much of racism, right? Because even when I'm in America, I stay in best of hotels. I have the best of lifestyle. So you can't be a racist to me. I've paid you good money. Right? And that is the mindset here. We were having dinner with somebody from CNN yesterday. And she was saying something. She said, what the Africans don't understand, particularly African American, is that this is not a racial war. It's a class war. He said, but because you don't know there is a class war, they will continue to use the racial, language to keep, playing politics so that you elect one party or the other before you eventually realize that it's all about class. And one of the persons sitting there, one was CNN, the other person works for the United States federal government. And so you don't know that here in New York, for example, the mayor or let's start with the mayor. He will first attend to the Jewish community first of all. Not because he hates black people, even though the current mayor is a black person. Because I had to ask her, I said, now that you have a black mayor, is there a difference? There's no difference. So was there a difference when Obama was president? Because this is a class war. It's about who brings more money to New York. The Jewish community, like Pastor was sharing with us earlier, They bring more money. So we have to take care of them first of all. Then we'll move to the Italians. Oh, you guys are looking at me like, are we here? Right? So they'll move to the Italians, except there is now a viral issue that has gone viral on social media. At that point, okay, oh, what do we do? What do we do? We need to, oh, George Floyd, somebody died. Oh, no, no, no. And they play all that card. But in terms of the scheme of things, honestly, you are not part of it. Not because they hate you, because it's about the money. It's a capitalist society. Now, the person says something exciting, and that's the good news. He said, however, amongst the black, they are beginning to notice the Nigerians. In fact, in the rating in government, because this person is a top position, so she understands the numbers. So in rating, they are now rating Nigerians. I'll give you a few hours. It has circulated among all the Nigerians. Among all the Nigerians. And they're organizing themselves. They are more educated. They are top professionals. Is this making sense at all? Then how do we leverage that in the real estate sector? Because actually, the economy of America is built on real estate. So the data that shows that only 8% of black people in America own their own house, it's really, really something that has to change. Because the economy is run by real estate. It's backed up by real estate. So if you don't begin to think of how do I own real estate assets in America, then you are missing it totally. Is this making sense at all? Yes. Okay, so let's go to my slide. Pastor joined us for dinner at Forbes. Next, I got, if I'm the youngest person to get the Forbes Best of African Award this year, we had our own in July. So we had some new other 5 people who were inducted 2 days ago, including Pastor Paul Adefras, and Pastor was with us. Next. I've written several articles on Forbes magazine. You can go online and read them. A lot of them are about real estate as well. And they're really, really information you need to get. Next. 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 Okay. Now, one important thing I always talk about, and this is very key. Why do you want to be wealthy? And this is very, very important. Do you want to be wealthy just because of you and your family? Or you want to be in a position to be a game changer? In a position to be able to impact more people? And for me, one of the major reasons I decided to become extremely wealthy was to be in a position to help people. And why am I saying this? The reason most of us are not wealthy is because our vision is limited to our family. And so when challenges come, are we together now? And, we hustle and we're able to pay the rent and all of that, we relax again. Who knows what I'm talking about? And then when the whole thing goes back again, you start hustling again, things are okay, you go back. But when you have a broader, bigger vision, right, that I don't just want to be rich for me and my family alone. I want to be able to pay school fees of people. By the grace of God, we've paid tuition fee of over 10,000 people in the last 15 years. Okay? And for me, that is one of the things that gets me motivated. Because I know that if I decide to slow down, right, the next tuition fee is going to fail. Right? I won't be in the position to help some other people that I normally help. Is this making sense at all? And that will keep you running faster than you are currently doing. So we do a lot of charity projects. Keep going. This was our widow outreach, where we had, provide food for widows and all that. Next. And we also have a foundation grant. And this we're bringing next year to even America. We're doing this next year for Africans in Africa and Africans in diaspora. We give $5,000 to support businesses, but this year we focus just those back in Nigeria. And so every month, 2, 3, 4, 5 people get $5,000 from our foundation for their business. But next year we're extending it to Africans in diaspora as well. Next. Next. Okay, so I have a gift for you guys. and it's one of my best-selling book on Amazon. It's called Maximizing Your Real Estate Investment. So you can scan the QR code, and you just put in your information, and to send the book to your email. And that's my gift for you. It's going for $47 on Amazon, but you're getting it for free. But yeah, you can. If you want to clap well. Me, I don't like this average. I know we're in church, but if you feel like clapping, then clap properly, right? But it's important to know that I just don't want you to get the book and not read it, because that's not the intention. The intention is that you're able to read it. There's a limit to what we can do in the next 2 hours, and I have, I think, another meeting by I think 4 p.m. today. So there's a limit to what we can do in this meeting, but the book can help you understand real estate in a deeper dimension than what we can carry. So I hope you get to read it. How many of you are promising me to read the book? Right? Okay, beautiful. Next. So let's go into wealth, the subject of wealth. I always focus on this. You need to know there are 4 ways to access wealth. It's 3 ways rather, but it's majorly through investment. Even when you start a business, the ultimate goal of that business is to eventually retire and be getting returns on your investment. In other words, dividend from the equity that you own in the business. Are we together? So there are 3 levels to this, and whenever you're doing this, you have to be focused on that. There's something we call the high risk investment opportunity. And under that, we have the options, we have futures, we have, and when we say futures, we're talking of trading, whether it's Forex, whether you're doing crypto, which other high risks do we know? Okay? Come on, are we together? What other high risk investment do we know of? Oil business, right? So commodities, trading commodities. So these are high risk investment. They give good returns, super returns, fast returns, but they are very, very risky. Now, the purpose of this conversation is not that you shouldn't do them. It's just that you should be aware of them. Because part of the reasons why many of us don't do business is that once we hear somebody lost money from trading forex, someone lost money from crypto, but it's a business. It's legitimate. Just that it is extremely what? Risky. So if you want to go into it, you should know that from day one. What I'm trying to do here is a risky one. Maybe I need to be a bit careful how I go about it. The second category, we call them the middle or mid-risk business opportunity. We have real estate on top of that. We have, equity, mutual funds, large, small-scale cap stocks, high-income bonds, and debts, right? So these are like middle risk investment. In other words, the risk level for these ones are very minimal. Are we together? And then we have the low risk type of investment, government bonds, money markets, bank accounts, cash, treasury bills, and all of that. These are low risk. Now, how do you know which one is high risk, which one is low risk? Can anybody help me? This is a class, so I'm not preaching, so we need to interact. Who wants to help me? How do we know which one? How do you identify? I know we've given some, yes.
If the rate of return is excessively...
God bless you, ma. Abonito. Right? The returns on the investment. Once the return is extremely high, then you are into a high-risk business. Now, it doesn't matter who is running it, a bishop, a pastor, a pope, a whatever, you are going into a what? High-risk investment. So, what has often happened in our community is that you went ahead to do a high-risk investment. Now you are claiming victim when you lost your money. Like, who does that? Unfortunately, we too, we like to listen to all those stories. What's it bear? Hey, yeah, what's it more? They're all scammers. Don't go there. You did a high-risk investment, and the normal thing is that sometimes you make it very big, sometimes you lose totally everything you put in. I hope this is helpful. What is then my own advice to you today? Divide your investment budget into 3. Put a portion into high risk, a portion into mid risk, a portion into what? Into low risk. So that if you lose the high risk, right, you still have the mid and the low. Is this helpful? Also very important is that whenever you make money from a high risk investment, pull out your profit and put it into mid and low, because those are the ones that are sustainable. Is this making sense at all? Yeah. That way, if the high risk eventually crash, aka crypto, aka forex, right, you have already pulled out all your initial capital and some other profit, and they are in a more stable investment. I hope this is helpful. Yes. Hello, is this helpful? Yes. Good. Next. So what is then real estate? Now let's read one to go, everybody. Real estate is defined as the property, land, building, and air rights above lands, and understanding rights below the land. Now, I love this definition particularly because we're in New York. Okay, Long Island, but technically we're in New York, right? And in Manhattan, they don't sell lands anymore. They sell air rights. And that's why I love this definition. Right? So what happened in Manhattan, somebody maybe owned the land and has built already I'm just giving an example, let's say 25-story. You now want to do business, come to that person and say, okay, I want to buy the air right from the 26th floor to the 80th floor. That's how they do real estate in Manhattan. Okay? So at that point, you then calculate the rent the person has been enjoying on his 25-story. For the duration of when the construction will be done. You see that God bless those who invested in Manhattan. Right? So you calculate that first. And then you rebuild an 80-story that he most likely, depending on how you arrange, he most likely will still own his 25, now brand new. Is this making sense at all? He also got all the rental, yield, and yet, depending on the arrangement, either you still be paying something every year on that air right of 26 to the what? To the 80th floor. Is this making sense at all? Yes. Are we learning? Is this helpful? Okay? Now, it's important to have this conversation because sometimes we don't understand how powerful real estate is. We only see it from just this building. You have to think that what is beneath the building, what is on the building, and what is above the building. And that's why some states like Texas that has oil, a lot of people have really, really made it big time because they also, when they were buying it, insisted on buying. You can buy land and actually not buy the minerals. These are now important things to note. So, if you're buying land anywhere in the world, you must be particular about I'm buying the land and anything beneath and anything above. A particular pastor in Dallas, I don't know whether it's Dallas or one of these Texas states, God just told him, go and buy a property. Right? He reached out to them and he only had $200,000. They gave him one particular figure. He told them, I have $200,000 cash. If you guys want the deal, they were a bit reluctant. After a while, they called him back and they sold the property. A year or two later, they discovered that there was gas. So the first check he got on this land, true story, was $5 million. Then the neighbor also had a gas, but the pipe to tap into that one's gas must come through him. That one to have to pay leasement for the pipe to go through his land. From an initial investment of what? $200,000. And you and I in the same America. All our mind is thinking is $20 an hour. May God deliver us. Amen. Can I hear louder? Amen. Amen. Because it's all about the mindset. Right? Some of you say, but Dr. C, you don't understand. How do we get the money? It's the mindset you need to get first. Right? Because it's when you understand exactly what am I going after. And I'm not asking you to quit your job. I'm not asking you to even change your career. I'm just saying real estate must be part of your, wealth creation agenda if you are in this part of the world. It must be part of it. You have to intentionally begin to think of how do I add real estate to my portfolio, because I'm in a country where this is actually how you become rich, real estate investment. Is this helpful? So what are the types of real estate? We have residential real estate, we have commercial, we have industrial, and we have something I call land banking. Okay, this is one of the major ways I have built wealth in Nigeria. I did what we call land banking. What did I do? I picked certain, of course, I got the knowledge first. And please let me say this. The knowledge of an investment is more important than the investment itself. Can I repeat myself again? The knowledge of what? Is more important than the investment itself. So what I did was to get the knowledge. But I did land banking. So I started getting some land in certain places. I remember some of the lands I got for $250,000. Today are going for between $50,000 to $100,000. And I got in some places 1,000 plots, 2,000 plots. And today I have over 30 of such. And every day they are increasing in value. Okay? Land banking. Everybody say land banking. The beauty of land banking is that you can do it anywhere, including in US. Last year we did a deal, in Dallas, Texas, using the same land banking strategy. They gave me the information. Texas Instrument was going to do an industry there, $5 billion opposite this particular land I wanted to buy. I just saw the data show that this thing was going to appreciate. Now hear this. They were selling for $10 million. All I even did was that I agreed with them in 90 days I was going to pay. All I did was to get somebody else willing to pay $20 million. Right? And the rest is history. In this same America. You're all looking at me. So are you saying that the problem now is not money? Oh, Pastor, should we end it? They are looking at me somehow. They are trying to connect. The problem isn't money. The problem is the information. Right? And having the right partner, because I couldn't have done that alone. I don't understand whether you know what I'm talking about. Who was the lawyer? Who was the broker? Who was, So It's about the information and having the quality people. One of my quotable quotes is this, and this is very powerful, and I think you must never forget it. Two poor people cannot help themselves. One has to climb to the top before he throws the rope to pull down the others. If there's one major mistake we as Africans make, is the fact that we operate a community of our poor connections. And then when we see the rich ones, say, if it's white, we say it's white people. If it's black, we say, right? You know, he's in Rolls Royce, he's in private jet. How much money does he have? And that's our problem. Without realizing that we actually need to go and meet those who are doing better than us. Is this making sense at all? One of those speakers you saw is Grant Cardone. I was in Nigeria. I've been following this guy after a while. One day I just said to myself, enough of just this online following. I paid the guy $50,000 to have 1 hour session. And I've paid multiple times. Yes, one human being, not God. Human being. $50,000 for 1 hour session. But guess what? We're about launching a fund of $200 million next year here in the US. Everything I learned from this employer. So compare. It's up to you. $50,000. Of course, I pay multiple of it. Let's say total, we paid over $250,000 in different sessions. $250,000 versus knowledge of being able to raise $200 million. Are we learning at all? Yes. Right? I had a book signing yesterday, and Pastor raised this question. One of our biggest problems is we have refused to pay to get the relevant information, and that's why we have remained where we are. We've always expected that they should teach me for free. Should be God help them. Some of us, I've heard people who said that to me. Say, should be God taught you. I said, I don't understand. How did God teach me? If God had taught me, he would teach you too. It's not a partial God. It's no respecter of person. What he has done for A, he will do for B. So if it's that it was God, you too should have known what I know. I learned it. The Bible says, buy wisdom and sell it not. Buy it. That's what the Bible says. Buy wisdom. Tap your neighbor, tap your neighbor. Are you buying wisdom? Ask. If that one is not replying, tap another neighbor. Say, neighbor. Are you buying wisdom? Okay? Buy wisdom, sell it not. So the problem is that we're not buying wisdom. We come to this part of the world. We are busy about who is dating who, how to divorce, how to divorce me. Right? Nonsense that, sometimes when I see social media and Nigerians in diaspora, hey, we see Mamajide. Hey, Wallah, Chanu. Is this what we are supposed to be doing with our lives? The Chinese are bonding together. They are putting their resources together. They are buying all these malls. Right? Pakistanis are doing the same. Right? An average Indian will enter America with nothing. Nothing. But they will come together. You can have 5 families in one house. Everybody is hustling. They will buy the first house. They will buy the second house. In 5 years, everybody now owns their house. 20 years down the line, you are talking about a wealthy culture. Am I making sense at all? But in our case, it's just how to gossip about who is doing what, who is not doing what, how this person is wicked. And I'm saying that is not how we are going to be wealthy. We have to forget our weaknesses. Everybody has it. If you don't have, when you point one hand to someone, 4 is already pointing at you. We have to leave all these sentiments and come together and build real wealth. Is this making sense at all? Let's move on. Next. So, let's look at Genesis 35 verse 12. It says, 1, 2, go. Let's read. Everybody. And the land in which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after you will I give it. I want you to know, next slide, that when God is ready to bless any man, he first gives the man a land. In fact, the proof that God has blessed you is only real estate. Financially now. And it's all through the scriptures. What do you think the whole war has always been about? It has always been about land. Wars have always been about land. The first promise God gave Abraham was what? Get thee out of your what? Father's house, land. To where? Another land. That's how it's always been. And what we fail to realize, in the typical African culture, you are not yet rich unto your own property. It's a shame that people have 2 cars, 3 cars in America, and you don't own your property. It's a shame. It's a shame. Because a car is not an asset. And even the property, I'm not talking about mortgage. If you're going to get mortgage, you better rent it out. Let your tenant be paying that mortgage. I remember mentoring one of my mentees here in New Jersey. And then he came to me and said, look, you have just come to America. This is your 3rd year. You better take real estate seriously, or you will just walk like many people have had to do. 30 years down the line, they have nothing to show them. Say, Pastor, thank God, testimony. This is my 30th year in US. What did you achieve from it? Some people will say, Toru Omomofishe, how good have those children turned out? Let's stop deceiving ourselves here. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. If those children don't turn out to become successful entrepreneurs, successful professionals, it's still a failure. Either way. And sometimes you've even lost everything. We need to begin to... I hope I'm not too hard. Everybody's quiet. Maybe I need to slow down. Right? We need to really review these things in reality. So I said to him, this is what you're going to do. Look for a property that they are building in New Jersey. Make sure it's either close to a hospital, big time hospital, it's close to the train station. We give him all the data he needs to look out for. And he got this property close to one of the best hospitals I heard, top 5 hospital in the whole of US, in New Jersey. Not just opposite the place. They've not even finished the property. It's a 2-story building. Right? And he was saying, but the deposit, I don't have. I say, whatever you have, go and give them. They've not finished the house. They're not going to give you the house yet. Right? So tell them, this is how much I have. Just hold it. I'll be coming, and he gets his check is it 2 weeks you guys get? I'll be coming and I will be dropping. At least it will still take you another 6 months or so to finish the house. The owner agreed. True story. He deposited the first money and then gradually kept putting. Guess what? The first thing that even happened to him was that between the time he deposited the first money and when they actually completed the building, the value of the property had grown by over $50,000. That's the first testimony. Right? So he eventually got the property. I told him, I said, because you are using mortgage and all of that, it is foolishness to think that a mortgage is an asset, except you have tenants. You are not trying to impress nobody. This is a big property. So renovate it. So what he did was, the first floor, he converted to 2-bedroom. He was living there. Second floor, another 2-bedroom. He rented it out. The last floor, another 2-bedroom. He rented it out. 2,000 first floor, 2,000 second floor. Mortgage 3,000. Earning extra 1,000 every month. Are you seeing wisdom now? The last time he told me, I think the property was it 450,000? Over a year later, this was last year, he was telling me the value was already up to 650,000. And I said, now you can take equity line of credit and replicate it. Do 2 more, and then 3 more, and then 4 more. Before we say Jack Robinson, you practically can own over 20 to 50 properties. And you are having tenants pay the mortgage, and you're having something extra on the side. Is this making sense at all? Yes. And in future, once the mortgage is fully paid, you own the property for life. And that is really how to become wealthy, because this way, money is working for you instead of you working for money. Is this making sense at all? Again, disclaimer here. Heavy one. There is proper training you need for this kind of things. So don't come and listen to 45 minutes lecture and you say you now know it, and you dabble into something, you lose money, you say, Pastor brought one speaker. The way the man said it just looks sweet. I just said, let me do it. And now I've lost money. So I'm giving proper disclaimer. Aha. Now, let's look at something powerful. And this is important for those of us who are from Nigeria. This is the World Economic Prediction by the year 2075. And the prediction is that Nigeria's economy will be worth 13.1 trillion. Can you believe that? 13.1 trillion. Nigeria will actually be number 5 wealthiest country in the world by the year 2075. Right? These are data not done by Nigeria. Not done by Nigeria. Another one by Washington Post showed that by the year 2100, the biggest city in the world is no longer going to be New York or Japan. It's actually going to be Lagos, Nigeria. Washington Post, you can Google it. Right? So there is a lot of shift globally. Am I making sense at all? Globally. That if you are not careful, right, you will lose out and you will be wondering why. May you not be in the midst of plenty and still lose out. Can I hear louder amen? Amen? Next slide. So by this data, Indonesia will be number 4. US will now be number 3 by the year 2075. So I'm going to Canada. I'm going to America. You better begin to study where the world is going. Things are changing. Next. India will be number 2. And guess what? China will be number 1. This is where the world is going. So if you are not waking up to begin to see how do we restructure, particularly those of us who are younger, how do we reposition so that you don't wake up one day and the America you fought so hard to be is now number 3. And in Nigeria you are even looking down on. Suddenly things are getting better. Are we together? Next. Look at something powerful. This is about real estate. And this is one of the things that I notice about a lot of our pastors that we that follow them are not doing. Redeemed land, the same Redeemed camp you know, was bought for 6,000 naira. The first set of acres. Right? Over 30-something years ago. 30 years. 6,000 naira. In fact, Igio did, this was from his mouth, not somebody said. He said the other parts they wanted to even buy, the land was 52,000, and the church didn't have the money. Right? So he told the church board, in fact, he said if he was a church that they can remove the GO, they will have removed him. Because the church felt that other place was perfect. So he told them, we don't borrow. They said, let's take some loans. He said, we don't borrow as a church. So eventually the following day, one of the members of the committee was going to Ibadan. So on his way, that same Redeemed camp land, he saw some people discussing the land, 6,000 naira. So he called that Jew. He said, as soon as they called, he said, just tell them we are buying it. He had not even seen the thing. He just tell, because this worked between our budget. So just tell them we are buying it. See what God has done with the Redeemed Camp today. If many of us study the story of Manhattan, you will be shocked what Manhattan looked like in the 1800s and early 1900s. You'll be shocked. People are the ones who always turn bush to city. And those who do it always reap tremendous reward. And that's your job. Where is the next bush I can turn to a what? A city. Right? Where is the next place I can turn to a city? And I'm saying this to particularly those of us from Africa. Yes, you are living here. Make sure you are investing in 2 locations. Here and back at home. I don't care what anybody is telling you. I don't care how your relatives are trying to blackmail you. Nigeria lay, Emawa, all those nonsense. Don't listen to them. Don't. Because those are just ways to siphon money from you. And in future, you get back to them. The same people you used to feed, they own 2 properties, 3 properties. And I'm telling you practical stories here. So imagine somebody begin to, at this point, say, I will own property in America, but I will start buying some lands in Nigeria. Okay? Of course, again, disclaimer, remember I told you, proper guidance, training. It's not just, they say we should buy land. Anything, go. Get to meet those who have done it. How have you done it? I own 30 estates. You should ask me, how did you do it? How do you handle Omonila issues? We even discussed that yesterday in my book signing. And those of you who are getting the book, The Billionaire Land Bank, I even shared that. So read the book. Right? I shared the principles. I even shared to a point to say, at some point, maybe you should start what we call mini estate. Buy from a credible real estate developer. Okay? And you can have a mini estate with them. Pastor has one estate in Abidjan. Right? 10 acres there. I'm sure some of you probably don't know. They don't know. So, why don't you have something there? Of course, he's fought all those Monile Wahala. You are covered, I don't know, order under his own arrangement. Does that make sense at all? I know several people who have done, property business with us. They have never even stepped foot in Nigeria. We use DHL, we send all their documents to them in America, in Canada. And there's security 24/7 protecting that investment for them. So there is always a way if you are really interested. Right? And if you stop listening to gossip and hearsay and all this, can you call one thing? I remember we have a new group CEO, because I'm now the chairman of our company. After 15 years, I stopped day-to-day administrative function. I got a Pakistani man who is our new group CEO. And I remember him coming to Nigeria. You are now the group CEO. Most of our investments are in Nigeria, even though, yes, you'll be operating from Dubai, because we control over 100 properties in Dubai as well. But you have to also go to Nigeria, which is where we have massive investment. He was so reluctant. He said he Googled, all the warnings were just saying, don't go, don't visit, warning, kidnapping, crime. Go. So his first trip was to Abuja, and then I first met him on one of our estates. When he came, I said, oh yeah, guys, we need to kidnap this man now. He busted into laughter. I said, have you been kidnapped now? And he was saying to me, he said, funny enough, Nigeria is just like Pakistan. There are issues, but it's not that bad. He said, you people need to fight all this warning they put. He said, truly, if you type, I want to go to Nigeria on Google, you will just see warning sign, almost like, hey. So you guys need to fight this thing. Because it's the way they are constantly, I made sure he went to Asaba. He went to Asaba from Port Harcourt to Asaba by road. At some point he said, our chief security officer was the one scaring him. When he said you should go to Asaba, he's the chief officer, there's security concern. I said, yes, is it the CSO that employ you? I said, and he went to all those places. Nobody kidnapped him. And for me, it was intentional because I didn't want to have a group CEO who is collecting 10 times my own salary when I was the CEO. because he's an expatriate and does not understand, because my own belief about leadership, you the leader should be in the forefront. I don't know whether this makes sense at all. You don't sit there in the office and you're telling everybody be going. And that's not my own style. Right? So I wanted to make sure he understood how our company works. So I'm encouraging you, okay? You need to start thinking of how to invest in land banking back in Nigeria. Because 30 years from now, and I'm seeing it happen, I have so many clients today, they're in their 60s, they're in their 70s, and they just relocated back to Nigeria. And I keep asking them why. Just as something for me just wasn't cutting it for me anymore in America. I just want to retire in Nigeria. Right? And it will happen to many of you. You may not know it yet because you are still in your 30s or 40s, but it will soon happen. And it will be painful if you have not invested, am I making sense at all, in something that you can fall back home. Because what will have happened is that all this investment will have accrued. The land you will have bought 20 years from today will be worth billions. I was saying this when it comes to the data, that when you look at the data that says Nigeria will be, Lagos will be the largest city by 2100. What this is showing me is that if you even own 600 square meter, by the year 2100, you are worth $1 billion. That land will be worth $1 billion. That's what it means. It's like somebody saying you should own 600 square meter in Manhattan 100 years ago. That's what we are talking about here, in case you don't understand. It's like being convinced to have owned, am I making sense at all? A 600 square meter in Manhattan 100 years ago. And you say, no, I'm not interested. Won't you be regretting it today? Okay, next slide. I think my time is wrapping up. So we look at Abraham. The whole conversation in the Bible, and people don't understand this. Abraham was not a pastor. He was a businessman. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God of a businessman called Abraham. Who loved God, who served God. But he was a businessman. Is our mindset shifting now? Abraham was not a pastor. In fact, that was why he paid tithe to who? Melchizedek, who was the priest at that time. He was a businessman. He was a businessman, but he knew God, he loved God, he served God, and God blessed him. Next slide. And Abraham was very what? Rich in cattle, in silver, in gold. Genesis chapter 13, verse what? Verse 2. Next. Isaac, same thing. Next. Okay? Let's go on. Because of time. Jacob. Next. All of them. Solomon. Next. Job. Right? Next. So let's look at 7 ways to make money from real estate as we begin to wrap up. I won't be able to touch on them because of time, but I'll take questions. But you can snap this, because in case you're wondering, how do I get into this real estate sector? Right? At least you have this 7 model. And this 7 model, you can do them anywhere in the world. They are not restrictive to, is Nigeria, you can do them here. You can do them anywhere else in the world. Right? So the first one is called land banking. The second one is called property flipping. The third one is commercial rental, short let, residential real estate investment trust, right? And this is quite powerful for people who have been able to build good reputation in the real estate industry, right? At some point, you need to set up a trust where you can raise more liquidity to expand your real estate asset, right? And then we have real estate agents and brokerage. There are simple exams you can do now, even here in Long Island, in New York, and you can be a property agent in a matter of few weeks, right? Of course, it will take a longer one for you to be a property broker, but you can start from that agency model. Is this making sense at all? Yes. Next. So let's look at land banking. So for land banking, basically there are 3 phases to a land. We have what we call undeveloped land, pre-developed, and developed. And if you can notice from this curve, did you notice that the biggest profit is in where? No. It's pre-developed now. Are you not noticing? This is the largest profit. The largest profit is here. Right? This one is even, going up and coming down when it's eventually developed. So this helps us to understand that the best time to buy a land is not when it is developed. Because when it's developed, most of the profit has been gone for those who bought it when it was in pre-developed stage. Is this making sense at all? And sometimes the smartest thing to do is to even buy it between the latter part of developed and the pre-developed. And my advice to you is always look at stories. If you read the stories, if you go to land departments in your city, there's so many information about where development is going. And you can decide to go ahead of it. And that's all I've done even in many parts of the world that I've done investment. I just go ahead of development. Once they do the announcement, I don't wait for them to go and complete it. Once there's an announcement, a big firm is moving to an area, a big this is coming here. Initially, some of the investment I wanted to do was New York. But when the data was showing that more companies were leaving even California, they were moving to Texas. For me, Texas is where you need to be. Right? So there are a lot of information that you can use to guide you. It doesn't mean because you're in Long Island, you must invest in Long Island. That's not how it works. Right? Where will I get the best return on investment? Where are big industries moving? Where are major government projects moving? Can I go buy land there? I remember meeting the man who bought the Redeem camp in Dallas. Right? Pastor, I think I keep calling. No. It wasn't Fadel. Fadel took over after that. Pastor Akikoyi or something. Right? So, he was sharing how, so that you understand that all these big things we're always dreaming. Everything starts small. Everything starts small. So I remember hosting that the GO that time. And he had seen the land. He was convinced, the church can buy it. Of course, the church didn't have the money. It was just a farmland, empty, everywhere. And Dajio came to see the place. And he said he remembered that Dajio just went into the bush. And he was shocked. Literally, he couldn't see him again. He was waiting where. So by the time Dajio was coming, it was as if his change and countenance has changed. Right? And he told him some things which I'm not going to tell you here. And Dajio said, we'll buy this land. He said he remembered how he had to raise the first $30,000 to even just deposit. Right? And it took so much to even be able to. In fact, he said he regrets, and he told them when he was leaving that they should buy more. Because by the time they wanted to buy more, boom, prices has gone up. In the same America. Today now, if you go to where that camp is, the cost. But it was just farmland. Are we learning something? Yes. Are we learning? Yes. Are we encouraged? Yes. Okay, next. Let's play this video. Are you able to play? We need audio.
So when you come to land banking, the secret is to look for a place you have a cluster of industrial real estate, and then you come in to put residential and commercial. So look at here, you have the seaport, one of the largest in the whole of Africa. You have Dangote refinery behind us after the seaport, and you have the free trade zone. Here you have industries like Kellogg, Indomie, Colgate. All of them are here. And what did GTEC decide to do? We have 4 estates here that was going to have majority residential and a little bit of commercial. That's how you do land banking, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Cluster of industrial, then you put your residential and commercial. I love you. Bye.
So one of the things that I always say is that I'm not